Hello and welcome back to another Respect and to another edition of Raw Out of 10. And yeah, not long to go now until the Survivor Series War Games, with it coming up this weekend. And yeah, we've got plenty of build for that, with a member of each team added to the men's War Games matches. And yeah, build for several other matches on the card, including the IC title match. But let's start things off with a video package and then Drew McIntyre in the ring. The crowd was booing, but he said everyone was going to listen to him. The Scot said anyone who has turned their back on him was never a fan in the first place, and he didn't give a damn about them. He ridiculed Drew for never apologising for the people he screwed over while he was in the bloodline. McIntyre spoke about everything he sacrificed for his family, and how Jay took away the biggest moment of his life. He said he isn't joining the Judgment Day, but Rhea Ripley gave him the chance to get Jay inside a cage, and he's going to take it. This brought Jay out to respond, but the Judgment Day showed up behind McIntyre to provide backup. Jay was eventually joined by his War Games team too. Adam Pearce said he didn't want any more fighting from either team, and said whoever did it would cost their team the advantage in War Games. He also told the babyface team to pick a fifth member before the end of the night. McIntyre did a great job with his part of the segment. Everything came kind of out a bit forced afterwards with a standoff, which is something that would have been more useful at the end of the show rather than the start. But, kind of set up where we were going later in the show, so can't complain too much. Our first match was Nia Jax versus Raquel Rodriguez in a powerhouse match. Jax's size gave her an advantage, so she was able to take control quite early. She trash talked quite a bit until Rodriguez made a comeback and sent her out of the ring with a shoulder tackle. We returned from a break to see Jax deliver the driver's seat after beginning to focus her offense on the back of her opponent. Rodriguez tried and she was unable to lift Jax up on her shoulders due to the damage she had taken. While she was unable to hit powerbomb, Jax used the opportunity to hit her finisher for the win. It was better than expected and a decent irresistible first versus immovable object kind of showdown. Rodriguez always looks at her best when facing someone close to her size or bigger, which was the biggest highlight here. So yeah, even though Jax got the win, I thought Rodriguez in a way benefited out of it too. So yeah, I thought it was solid stuff, fun match, 6 out of 10. Before it was time for Becky versus Charlie, and before she enters the cage at War Game, Lynch had personal business here. Lyra was in the crowd to target Lee since their match is tomorrow, and this match started with Lee taking control, but strategic takedown from Lynch to turn the tables and put the man in charge right up until her rival regained the upper hand heading into the break. When the show returned, Lynch began to show some signs of life. They traded some big moves and near falls before the man finally kept Lee down for the 3 count with the manhandle stand. This was a highly competitive and energetic match that Lee has had up until this point. She needed a performance like this even if she ended up losing. When Damage Control showed up in the crowd to start a feud, where Lynch's teammates showed up and turned it into a big brawl as well, which was decent stuff. And yeah, this gets a 6 out of 10 for me. I thought, yeah, it kind of set up both feuds up really well. Bit of a weird one with Lee losing just before her title match day, but I thought the War Games match set out nicely. Lyra was there as well, but yeah, maybe not the ideal week to have this match is what I would say. Next up on Raw, it was Johnny Gargano versus Ludwig Kaiser, and Kaiser was trying to prove he didn't need Vinci's help to defeat Gargano when the two met for a rematch this week, but Ciampa was at ringside as backup for Johnny wrestling just in case. Gargano and Kaiser are two guys who have been in the ring with each other many times, so they already have developed great chemistry and know how to highlight each other's strengths. Kaiser did a great job selling all of the opponent's fast-paced offense, while Gargano did the same for Imperium member when he overpowered him. Both men are so good at what they do, and people would be shocked if they produced anything other than a fun match with the amount of time they get. Vinci came to help and score Gargano the win. The Italian even seemed to have a bit of a smile on his face, teasing tensions with Imperium, but then later when they were preparing to be in tag team turmoil together, all looked fine, etc, etc. Yeah, it just kind of felt so meaningless for two tag teams that are so great, and I just wish we were doing slightly more. So yeah, unfortunately this gets a 5 out of 10 from me. We then got the women's tag team number 1 contender fatal 4-way match. Natalya and Nox, Chance and Carter, Hartwell and Array, and Niall and Dupree made up the matches. And any match with 8 people involved is going to be difficult to manage, and it's even harder when they're split into 4 teams of 2. This match had a fun spots, but there wasn't too much to it. It was nice to get so many women in the ring on a Monday, but this was the weakest of the matches we got probably from an in-ring perspective. However, it's been the most entertaining thanks to title holders Chelsea Green and Piper Niven in commentary, in addition to multi-women spots. Dupree got quite a lot of offense in here, but Tegan Nox and Natalya defeated the 3 other teams to earn a shot at the women's tag titles, which I think, based on what they've done recently, is probably the right decision. Face up against heels as well, so yeah, they can play an interesting dynamic. So yeah, I thought it worked nicely. It highlighted the right people and probably the right winner as well. And yeah, like I say, the champs were really great on commentary too. Miz and Gunther then had an in-ring segment to talk a little trash and build up their title feud. They talked for a long time before things ended with the A-lister hitting a leg blow and his finisher on a champion, trying to build up a believable title change. It's not going to happen, but the Miz getting more over the babyface, which is obviously good to see. Before it was time for Nakamura versus Gable. In recent weeks, the artist has been dismantling members of the Alpha Academy, so the leader of the group felt it was up to him. Gable used his amateur wrestling skills to take Nakamura down a few times at the beginning of the match. They showed control back and forth a few times, but the pace during the first half was controlled by the Olympian. Nakamura got in more offense during the second half, but Gable was still the one who seemed to be in control mostly. The artist ended up getting a win, but it wasn't with the Kinshasa. He had to use a pinning combination to beat Gable, so there's maybe more encounters in the future. This was a fun bout, and the best of the series between Nakamura and Alpha Academy. Gable looked good, and the other opponents, this is no surprise, but he needs to start winning more. Moving on then to our main event, Drew McIntyre versus Jey Uso to determine who would take the advantage heading into War Games, and McIntyre looking to take out some frustration in the process. They came face to face, and Jey took the first shot to begin an exchange of right hands. Surprisingly, Uso gained the upper hand after an exchange of strikes, but Scott scored the first near fall after a big back elbow. They traded control several times throughout the match, keep us guessing who would end up on top, even if it seemed like a foregone conclusion. This was entertaining. It didn't feel like a main event for some reason. It felt like it would have been better in the middle of the show, but the problem is nothing else on the card would have best this spot. The Scottish Warrior kept talking about how he wanted to take out Uso for good, and he wrestled like this match, so he had the feeling of personal animosity. McIntyre got a surprisingly clean win with a future shock DDT instead of his usual Claymore. The show ended with two teams in War Games surrounding the ring. Cody Rhodes revealed that the final group member will be Randy Orton with some obvious clues. And yeah, maybe the main event didn't feel as good as maybe we thought it could be, but I thought it all led up perfectly to that Randy reveal. Cody teasing it expertly, and yeah, that pop will be huge. It's pop here on Monday, and yeah, so buzzing with that. That's really completed War Games for me. Gets 7 out of 10. Yeah, can't wait for it. Overall, Raw this week gets a 6 out of 10 from me. Yeah, I thought a solid episode of Raw this week. Really enjoyed it. Yeah, I thought the main event was pretty solid with Randy reveal at the end, kind of making the show for me. And then, yeah, throughout the card, I think, yeah, one not so mind-blowingly strong action, but I thought they were solid enough. And yeah, the build definitely got me hyped for Survivor Series. But anyway, guys, that's it really. Thanks so much for watching. Like, share, subscribe, next box, over daily wrestling news, and subscribe to the channel. It's going to be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.